Okay. Hello, everyone. Good afternoon, all. It's pleasure and privilege being here along with you in the STTP on research methodology and technical writing, organized in a really a nice manner. Without wasting time, let me begin with what I'm here for. We are going to discuss about ethics in research and publication. And when I say ethics, the basic concept of ethics says that it is about philosophy of being right or wrong, or rather it is a socially accepted behavior in research and publication. So if you look at this concept in general, we have types of ethics in our life. For example, we have personal ethics, we have professional ethics, and ethics in research and publication is a part of professional ethics. That is what I feel. Now, there are some points where, in professional life, there is always a clash between this personal ethics as well as the professional ethics. And if you don't tackle these points in a very organized manner, then you may have or your behavior may result into unethical behavior. So that's why knowing ethics in research and publication is very essential, before you start writing your research paper or you go for the doctoral study. So that's very crucial. Now, the first question, when I decided to present this particular topic, I felt that the first question should be addressed is, why is it crucial to follow the expected ethical behavior in research and publication? So these are the points that came into my mind, and those were, a good quality research papers, rather research or the study, they are essential contribution to the wealth of knowledge in every domain. Then, looking at it personally from the point of view of the author, we can say that it's a reflection of quality of work of authors and institutes, that support them. So again, it's a matter of credit for author and the affiliated institute. Third, and very important is, it's a matter of credibility of the journal. If a quality research paper have been published in a particular journal, it's a matter of pride for them. And ultimately, if you look at all these factors, they ultimately contribute to the society. It can contribute from any domain, you can say. So ultimately, it goes to the society, and society enriches. Now, before I actually go to the ethics and research publication, I just would like to provide you the historical and the contemporary perspective of education in India, which ultimately leads to our ethical and unethical behavior. Now you can see here, so far as our country is concerned, at the time of independence, we had only 1.5 lakh schools in India. But then the graph went on, and today you can see that there are more than 60 lakh schools in 2020. So yeah, Indian school education system particularly is the largest in the world, and it has more than 250 million students in that system. Now this is a school education. Now the point that concerns us is higher education, right? So far as colleges are concerned, at that time, only 500 colleges were there, and now you can see there are almost 40,000 plus colleges in 2020. And yes, we are the third highest, third biggest Indian higher education system we have, and we have the enrollment of over 2 crore students in this system. Going ahead, you can see at the time of independence, so far as universities are concerned, there were 20 universities in 1950, and now you just see that the figure high is up to 900 plus, right? So huge exponential growth in terms of system of education, and the rise is 40 times. So see the bigger picture that we have of education in India. Now, so far as higher education is concerned, we have regulatory framework and higher education some bodies are there which govern this particular higher education system. Now, so far as three-dimensional view, if we look at, we have policy making done at the higher level, that is Department of Higher Education, MHRD, Association of Indian Universities, Central Advisory Board of Education, and such governing bodies are there who are involved in the policy making. Then we have number of bodies which actually regulatory body, which are regulatory bodies, and they regulate the higher education system. And ultimately we have the organizations like NBA and NEC, they accreditate the education system. So from the figure that we have seen, there is an exponential growth, expansion that can be observed. Now, a total, I think in this education system, total people involved are 1.4 billion plus. So such a huge system we have. And now we are talking about quality education, right? So in such a big system, if we talk about quality education, it is defined as, you can see the underlined words. So quality education is the education wherein, it ensures inclusiveness of all classes, all people. Then we have equitable quality, equality, inequality provided to the people. And third, and you can see here, these are some sarcastic pictures from net that I have taken, that inclusiveness, if you talk about this, still there is a class of people which is out of coverage so far as education is concerned. And the second picture that you can see here is the educational terrorism, or rather economic terrorism, I would say, in education. So it's just a contrast. And it's also a famous image from internet that we have single system taking care of all kinds of different skilled students. So it will be inappropriate, unethical rather. Last, but the matter that concerns us the most is employment. So again, we are providing opportunity to all the people so far as employment is concerned. Again, it's a matter of question. So with this, the juxtaposition, contrasting picture we are getting here in terms of population growth as well as infrastructure growth. Still, we need to match our infrastructure growth with the population growth. And that's in the sense of academics, research and development, and innovation, and you can say inventions. So there is a wide gap you can see between these two particular aspects in education. So still it is to be filled. But yeah, initiative have been started. Now I come to the point wherein how there are hurdles, there are problems in research and innovation in our country. Okay, and which results into unethical behavior. Okay, so which are they? They are inadequate budget allotted to particular system or particular study or the research. Then we have R&D facilities. Still we need to improve our R&D facilities. Then we have ecosystem for innovation. Yeah, SSIP is doing great. Okay, we have present incubation centers available in Gujarat now. So lots and lots of things have been done. But still, it's a beginning. Fiscal support is also equally important. Our budget, still is less so far as education, our huge, population is concerned, which are ready for education. Then our education system, yeah, with this reference, I just would like to say NEP, a new policy, education policy is quite, I think, efficient to cope up with this problem, where, co-teaching, R&D and consultancy, have been taken care of. So that would be, that would be our future. So let us see what happens. And we are doing irrelevant job duties sometimes. An engineer is doing something else. So that also, one of the important point where unethical behavior comes out. Then normally the first target for any employed person is CAS, API, CR. Definitely. Then unreasonable targets for R&D sometimes set out of some excitement, and forced by immediate authority. Sometimes we are forced by authority to do something which is something called. Now these all the factors affect the unethical research and publication. How we are going to see that, but rather my point of concentration is particularly what kind of ethical and unethical behavior normally observed in research and publication, and how can we do away with that. So that's my point of concentration. I would be to the point. Yeah, so that's why I reached at the conclusion that ethics in research is critically important. Everybody who are involved in study or any kind of research must understand this importance, but still it is very difficult because there are a number of factors, external factors, internal factors that affect your ethical system. Okay, but still we are hopeful and we shall do great. I shall be discussing these issues today. The first is the issue of authorship. Second, plagiarism, simultaneous submission, research fraud, salami slicing, new term, and competing interests. Now, these are the major issues which anyone who is on the path of research would come across. So that's why you must be very clear about these issues that threatens the integrity of your research and publication. So let us begin with the authorship. Actually, it is very simple. Who is an author, right? But actually, when we look at the system that we have, we have some people who are not author, but still they are included in this particular or under this particular term author. Okay, now see, who is an author? See, very simple. Significant intellectual contribution to the study. One who makes this significant intellectual contribution to the study, the person, he or she, is called an author. Now, when there are collaborative efforts, when there are a number of people involved in the study and the research, it is very difficult to distinguish between the authors as well as contributors. There is a difference between these two words. So you have to be very sure whether the person working with you or who have joined you, okay, whether they come under the authorship or not. Okay. So there are four criteria, which you can consider for the purpose of judging the person, whether the person is author or not. You can see here, first is, that person has contributed to concept and design, data collection, analysis and interpretation. Yeah, he might be, one of the authors that you have. Another point I would like to mention here is the person who has the power of drafting, revising the article for intellectual contents publication. That person, it can be called author. Third, yeah, sometimes there are people who give their agreement or who check the final version and they would see whether it has the publication aspects or not. So that's also included in the that person will be considered as author. And last but not the least, accountability, responsibility is equally important. The person who is responsible for overall subject or overall work that you have done, is also called the author. So these four criteria, if they are met with, you can understand that the person can be designated as one of the authors. Now, there are some general guidelines, for this authorship. You must follow these guidelines. I hope I am audible as well as my screen is seen by you. Am I right? Yes or no, please?
Yes, sir. It is definitely.
Thank you very much for the response. Okay. So, see, yes, when there are a number of people involved in authorship, the first thing to be done well in advance is order of authorship. Otherwise, after publication, there are disputes among the authors themselves. Okay, so order of authorship is a joint decision by all the authors. That's the first option we have. Okay, so right from the beginning, if more than two people are working, you must be very clear about your role as well as where you stand in the research or in the publication. Then, as I said, all people who are involved in the research paper writing or publishing cannot be called authors. So who are they? So individuals involved but don't satisfy journals criteria for the authorship, they are listed, can be listed as contributors or acknowledged individual. Those who have done some research or study must be aware that we have acknowledgement part, in which we acknowledge those people who have guided us, who have assisted us, who have provided us the space or laboratory for the purpose of some experiment, right? Or monetary help, some people has financial support, some has given. So these all are not the authors but the contributors. So you must be able to clearly distinguish between this kind of confusion. So please take care. Now, so far as large organization is concerned, where a project is there, many engineers, many scientists, many people are involved, then it is always advisable that you must release a statement describing the contribution of every individual associated with that particular research. So this is the best option. The work has been described. Okay, the credit will be given to the particular person. Okay, so very important. And last but the final resort we have is, see, you can list down the authors alphabetically. So there will be no, confusions. There will be no, you can say, disputes, right? So the last option is, if you cannot solve this problem of authorship, with above stated guidelines, you can have, authors listed alphabetically. So that's fine. Okay, so you should take care about this, because this dispute happened after publication when the credit is to be assigned. Now from the picture you can see the writers, the authorship, those who are very much near to the pen, they are the original contributors. They contribute more and they contribute maximum. Then the person who is standing on the table and at the back, you can see he might have minor contribution, and you can see the people standing just away, they have rather no contribution, rather we can say very little contribution to the research paper or the research. Now based on this, now we come to the problem of ethics, unacceptable authorship. You can see there are certain authors which are ghost authors. This ghost term is very logically applied, where sometimes some organizations hire some people to write and they publish that particular paper without naming that author. So such authors are ghost authors who have contributed a lot, but still their name does not appear anywhere. And normally in the professional life, companies hire such kind of authors. So ghost authorship is illegal and unacceptable. But still, out of some helplessness or some problem, some people opt for this. Then there are two more concepts we have: guest author and gift author. Almost same, but why do we include such author? We include them because it increases the possibility of publication, because their name is reputed, because they have good position, they are in some bodies, you can say some policy making body or so. That's why these are called guest author as well as the gift authors, because we give them the authorship in gift or as a guest. But these are all illegal practices. These are all unacceptable authorships that we have. We must not go into that. Second critical issue that we have is plagiarism. Now, Control C and Control V, very famous in terms of computer terminology. Now, what is plagiarism? When you try to deliberately use another's work without permission, without assigning the credit to that person, or without acknowledging these people, what you have taken from them. So the basic concept is, whatever you take, you need to acknowledge, you need to give credit to the due person, as well as you can say you must have the permission. So plagiarism is the serious kind of fraud that we have. And I'll just in which areas it has been done. In majority of the cases, it has been observed that the data is copied or taken then words and phrases, exact language is taken. Okay, and sometimes if this both the things are not taken, the basic ideas and concepts are taken from that particular paper or the other researcher. So increasing internet availability, has resulted into plagiarism at the most. So that's the problem. And you can just enjoy this particular incident where somebody is claiming that what I have taken is from internet, so it must be correct. No, it is not the case. You must be able to distinguish between something which is good and which is appropriate and which is not appropriate. Okay, so again, plagiarism is a serious issue. You must deal with it in a very grave manner. Now, as person of as person belonging to a language, there are some you can say and synonyms for plagiarism that we have. Okay, stealing, plagiarize, spoke, reproduce illegally, appropriate, bootleg, pirate, pret, crib, lift. These all are words which are the synonyms of plagiarism that somebody would indulge in. Now, what kind of plagiarism practices at present, people are involved in? We can say the first thing that is very basic is literal copying. What you do, you just exactly copy it and paste it without changing anything. Okay, you can take a whole part, you can take a partial information. Okay, but you do not acknowledge that person. You do not take the permission and you use it in your paper. So please mind well. It's my experience of doctoral studies says that if you are pursuing study, whenever you find any kind of information or the material from the other papers, immediately cite them, immediately copy them, immediately note down the publisher or the author and use it as citation, as well as you can acknowledge them in your paper. So very important, literal copying is the serious kind of fraud. Yeah, what you can do is you can keep, as I said, you can keep the track of sources that you have. You can acknowledge them at the end of the paper or in the paper or in the mid of the paper. Okay, and yes, the most important thing, you can use quotes. Okay, you can use quotes for word for word text and references. So that would identify the text that you have taken. Now this is second one, which is called paraphrasing. You take the idea, you take the data from any other person, but still what you do, you rephrase the word. You do not copy it for word for word, but what you do is you reproduce someone else's idea, not exactly copying, but you just copy their idea in your own words. Okay, so that's also, and that is also without acknowledgement and acknowledging the original source. So in that way, this is an illegal practice, this is unethical practice. Okay, so what you can do here is, again, you need to take care, you can understand what the original author means, what he or she says, and you can also compare the paraphrase to the original text, whether they are matching or not. Okay, and when you are using someone else's idea or the data or the content, then it must retain, it must have the meaning that is intended. Okay, and yes, only you can do this if you acknowledge that person. Without permission or the acknowledgement, you cannot use others' data. So second is, common practice is paraphrasing. Those people who are associated or those people who have good language, they generally indulge into this kind of unethical practice. So you should take care. Then text recycling. That's reproducing portions of our own work in the paper and submitting it for publication as entirely new paper. So sometimes we use the same data for two different papers by paraphrasing. So that's a skill. Okay, but still it is unethical practice. Okay, and if you are using something from a previous paper, then it is likely that you should put it into quotes. You should reference that particular author. If it's your paper, then also you should quote that particular paper. You should try to just acknowledge even if it is your paper. So just for the purpose of clarity. Then you can see here those people who are good at paraphrase, they sometimes in overconfidence, they commit such kind of mistakes. For example, just for the humor I have added, these are companies who have, in one of the articles I read this, an employee of an Oracle, he wanted a leave. Now you can see, I have just colored it red. The portion that I have colored it red is the problem with the statement. You can see here, and enjoy it. As my mother-in-law has expired and I am the only responsible. So actually, I have the responsibility. That should be the statement for it. So he is asking for 10 days leave. So if you are not good at language particularly, then also you might be the victim of plagiarism. Okay, so if you are not good at language, you can consult a person who can help you in this. You can just enjoy these examples, particularly L&T example and Infosys example that we have. Okay, you can just enjoy it. Just try to read it once and you will find it will be clear that, paraphrasing sometimes leads to misunderstanding. Okay, so I just want to move ahead as the time is limited. First, we saw the authorship, then we saw the plagiarism, and third is simultaneous submission. This is also one of the unethical behaviors, that has been seen in the race of publishing papers. Okay, now you can see simultaneous submission, that is submitting a paper to 2 or more journals at the same time. You must not involve in this. Okay, you must submit this your paper to only a single journal and wait for its reply, and only then you should go ahead. Okay, so you might be publishing your article in anywhere. Okay, but this is the practice that you should follow. And duplicate publication. This is another kind of unethical behavior that we have in publication. That is submitting a paper or a portions already published in another journal without disclosing the prior submission. So it's a kind of breaking of trust to the journal to which you are publishing or in which you want to publish your paper. So definitely you should avoid submitting a previously published paper. You shouldn't publish it in another journal. You shouldn't send it. Okay, and then you should same research one or the other way must not be sent to the different journals. Okay, so duplicate publication must be avoided. Sometimes I have observed some people in the hurry of publishing paper, when they don't have other paper ready, they try to paraphrase the previous paper and try to present it in a different way. But this is an unethical practice that you should not get involved. Now, that's what I was talking about. Duplicate publication by paraphrasing. Single paper, okay, same data, same hypothesis, same conclusion, but still you are, rephrasing it and presenting it somewhere else. Okay, so that's not acceptable. Okay. And translation. If the paper is published in other language, okay, say for example in Hindi or in other language, but you have translated that particular paper and you want to get it published, then no, that is also an illegal or unethical practice. But yes, if you want to publish such kind of paper in journal, okay, then first thing you do is you need to have the permission of the original paper author. Okay, and then during the submission you can also disclose these details related to the previous papers which you have translated. So that can be the practice, and by this practice you can publish your paper even if it is a translation of the other paper. So there is nothing to worry about, but due acknowledgement, due credit should be given to the original author. So that's the precondition. Otherwise simultaneous submission is not allowed. And that's why if some of you might have went for publishing paper, there is something called they also take it in written that I agree or I confess that this article has not been sent to any other journal or any other publication for publishing. So they take undertaking. Why? Because such things happens in our system. Okay, there are reasons. I'll come to that. The fourth one is research fraud. Now fraud is a bigger word. In academics particularly, this is not tolerable. Okay, and that's, everything is fabricated. That is publishing data, conclusions not generated by the experiments or by observation, but by the data manipulation. Sometimes there are some reasons, I'll come to that, but there are some reasons, because of which some researchers, manipulate the data to match with their hypothesis or match with their expectations. Because we start research with the expectations, hypothesis. So ultimately, we want to reach out that. So in research fraud, the first is, we have fabrication. That is making research data artificially, okay, without any experiment, and results and, recording or reporting them. That is the fabrication of data. And you must not never involve in such kind of activities. And next one is falsification. Is you give the false data. Manipulating research materials, images, data, processes, includes changing or omitting data or results to make it fit with your desired and end result of the study. So, right from the beginning of the research, if you have decided that my conclusion should be this, if you have that strong belief in your mind, then you may likely involve yourself in such kind of unethical activities. So please be aware of that. Okay, and we have number of examples observed in real life situation wherein, the fraud came out after so many years when the person is at the top. So better you should never involve in this kind of fabrication. And this is a serious kind of misconduct, because such kind of data may harm the society. For example, in case of an engineering field or the medication field, right? If such data is fabricated, then it can be harmful to the mankind, because they are directly related to the people of the world. So it's a serious form of misconduct that you should avoid, particularly when you are in a scientific field or in engineering field. So you must present only truth that you have. This is what I was telling you. Fraud triangle. Why do people involved in research fraud? Sometimes you may come across a situation. So I just would like to point out that three basic things that compel a person to involve in kind of a research fraud. First is motive and pressure. You have the pressure from the higher authority, and you have time limit, okay, and your motive is not good, okay, and you want to complete it at any cost, okay. That in that particular situation, you are guided by your negative motive as well as the pressure from the higher authority, or for that matter, if you are doing a research or doctoral study, publishing paper is mandatory. So still, if you have not published your paper and you want to, then under pressure you may involve yourself in this kind of activity. So it is not desirable. Next is so rationalization is I think is the dangerous aspect in this fraud triangle, because we have strong beliefs as a human being. We feel that what I have observed, what I have seen in my life is correct. And when your research data does not match with your belief, then you are involved in fraud. So please be objective in your research. Okay, you must have objectivity in your research, and don't get your personal belief, personal things in this objective research. So that is always advisable. Then you have opportunity to do this. Suppose everything is controlled by you. You have all the data. Nobody else is involved in it. You are alone in this research. Definitely, you have chances to change the results, and you can change it by changing your data. That's why opportunity. Whenever you get the opportunity, you may be attracted towards this shortcut. So normally it should be avoided. And as I already talked about, very famous phrase we have: publish or perish nowadays. Okay, so this creates a pressure on the researcher, and then the person gets involved in such unethical behavior. So research, just be away from this research fraud, and definitely you'll go a long way ahead. These are shortcuts, but you must not go for it. Now there are some guidelines given for manipulation of, you can manipulate images, okay, but with some restricted guidelines. For example, for improve the clarity, you can manipulate the images. Now what happens then? Then you may, for example, you can further divide that particular image into some form, okay, just to make it more and more clear. So that's for clarity you can do this. No specific feature within the image can be enhanced, obscured, moved, removed, or you can use the picture as it is. You cannot highlight a certain portion which you want to. Okay, you can use the image as it is, but it depends on your motive and your your intentions. That's also very important. So you must not manipulate images. You cannot use only a part of that particular image. You should use the whole image. And if you're using a part of it, you should give the reference of the whole image. So far as minor corrections like brightness, contrast, colors, they are acceptable to make it more more visible, okay, more clear. It's okay, that's acceptable. And when you are involved in the research, always after publication of the paper, even you should have data retention is very important. You should keep your data safe somewhere in case in future if you require you may produce that data. So that's why author may be asked to provide raw data in connection with the paper for the editorial review. Some genuine journals, they normally ask for raw data for the purpose of clarification. So you should be ready with that particular data also. So it should be retained, and for some time, at least for 6 months, a year, depending upon your requirement. Okay. The fifth one that is called unethical behavior is salami slicing, that in publication. Okay, so you have a paper, and what you do, one meaningful paper, you divide your one meaningful paper into several different papers. Okay, you are misleading. You have only single data, but you are trying to manipulate it in a different way and trying to present it in various forms. So that is slicing of one paper, data of the first single paper. And when you do this, what happens? It happens that there is a distortion of literature. You are misleading readers who believe that data is from various research. Okay, it is not from single research, and sample is same actually. Okay, so slicing in other way is possible. I'll show you how. Okay, but you should avoid inappropriate breakup of data for a single study in 2 or more papers. So inappropriate breakup of data is not allowed. For example, let me give my example. My doctoral research was in speaking skill. I had I had recorded thousands of students when they were actually speaking in real life situation, and I presented my data in the final viva. One of my referee suggested that you can use this data for the purpose of creating a new paper on pronunciation of the students of Gujarat. That can be done. But using same data, same thing, you can just divide the data and putting it in already published data, putting it in 2 different papers. So that's not allowed. Okay, you should take care when you do this, when you slice data, but it should be appropriately sliced. Then it's okay. Okay, as I just gave you the example, in my research still I can produce a paper because data I have, but I have one more interpretation to be done, so that is left. Last but very important, where the problem arises actually, that is competing interest. Whose interest? Your, mine, ours. Interest of anybody. Please try to understand this concept. When investigator, author, editor, reviewer, see, all these are stakeholders. When you publish a paper, there are a number of people who are stakeholders. For example, you can say you yourself, author, editor, reviewer, journal, investigator, those who have contributed in the paper, as well as ultimately if the research is going to do good to the society, then society is also one of the stakeholders, definitely. So when these stakeholders, one of these stakeholders has financial or personal interest or belief that could affect his or her objectivity or inappropriately influence his or her actions, a potential competing interest exists. So here the problem lies with the intention, the motive. And see, other words used for this dual commitment. I just would like to give you the example of this corona situation, COVID-19 situation. You can see, for example, let us say a company A, wants to produce the vaccine for corona. In the initial stage, in their statements, they have said that, we will provide this corona for 200 rupees or 300 rupees. Now this things goes on, and ultimately they have started producing the vaccines. Okay, but then their motive, their interests from social interests, now their interests transfer to financial and personal gain. So there lies the competing interest, and I would also term as dual commitment. Once what you have said and now what you are doing, there is a difference, huge difference between your commitments. That's the problem. So that is competing interest. So these are out of some financial gain, personal gain. Okay, it depends and it varies from stakeholder to stakeholder, definitely. Okay, so this is competing interest, which is the unethical behavior. With the passing time, it has been, it has come, or it arises. It happens when you see the monetary gain. So as I said, some financial relationships are involved in competing interest. So you can see direct, that is employment. If you're writing a paper and if you publish this paper and you will get an employment, then it's an unethical behavior. So employment, stock ownership, grants, patents. And indirect, that is honoraria, consultancy or sponsoring organization, paid expertise. And that's why undeclared financial interest may seriously undermine the credibility of journals, authors, and disciplines of R&D. So if you have such interests, well in advance you should disclose that. When you are writing a paper or when you are doing this study, well in advance you should you can say disclose this kind of interest, that I will be selling this vaccine at 1,000 rupees. Simple. Okay, so that would be very transparent and very clear. But if you are hiding your intentions, okay, if you are revealing it later on, then in research it's a kind of a fraud, and you are not allowed to do that. Some personal relationships you can see here. If my relative works in the company whose products I'm evaluating, then competing interests arise. Okay, then self-serving for self benefit purpose. Okay, for promotion, okay, for career advancement, then also it is called in the domain of competing interest. And then personal beliefs that are direct in conflict with the topic, okay, that he and she has for R&D. As I said, personal beliefs should be put aside when you go ahead with the study or the research, because the result of research is just unpredictable, definitely unpredictable. You cannot predict the result in the beginning. So that's why you must take care that you must not have potential competing interest. Okay, and these are some examples you can see on my screen. When you submit a paper, you should have a declaration, role of funding agency, role of sponsoring agency. You should be very clear about all these roles in your paper or in your research, so that at the end of the research they would not come ahead with their interests. So well defined interests should be presented in the beginning itself. So you should be very clear about it. Otherwise, you may arise with disputes. Then describe the role of study sponsors. Yes, if you are sponsored by some company for the research, then you should well define in written format. You should have that in written, so that it will be a proof in future. Otherwise, in future, the sponsoring agencies may interfere in all these things, in data collection, analysis, interpretation, because that is going to affect that particular agency or the company, and that's why you should take care. Okay, everything should be written, role should be written, role of any agency supporting you should be in written. Last but not the least, nowadays, journals are well aware about these problems, and they are asking to the authors, to write, to give it in written. Key, what are the interests of all involved stakeholders? Okay, and that's why they have the last two lines. You can see that you have to give in written. I had full access to all data in this study. Okay, because you may be you may be stopped by any of the agency that is involved, so you must have to give it in written. I take complete responsibility for integrity of data, accuracy, okay, of the data analysis. So competing interest is, nowadays the cases emerges of such kind. So well in advance, if you are involved with some sponsoring agency or the researching agency or some company with regards to your research, then it is always advisable that you should have everything on paper regarding their contribution, so that the dispute may not arise at the end. Last but not the least, why we should publish ethically. These 5 points I just would like to elaborate. That it ensures this scientific progress. See, ultimately, whatever you write, whatever you research, it adds to the scientific community. It adds to the scientific progress of the country and the world, definitely. So truth, and only the truth, should be presented through your research, and that will benefit the society. So it ensures scientific progress. If you are publishing the paper ethically, then definitely it will add to the scientific progress. Second, you can see it protects life and the planet. How? Because it is, I think, said in the terms of medical domain, that if such fraud or if such kind of malpractices have been done in the medical field, or even I would say engineering field, then it may affect the life of the people and the planet. Okay, so that's why such kind of practices must be avoided. So fraudulent data particularly must not be produced. Whatever you produce should be actual and genuine. Third, it promotes ethical behavior. See, we have observed, we are teachers, most of you are teachers, right? So what is expected? Our students follow the teachers. If you are ethical in your behavior, then definitely the next generation that would come, will follow you. But if they see that the system is corrupted, the system is doing this, then they will also get involved in this. So it is highly motivational for them. If you, as a researcher, is following the ethical behavior, it is likely to influence the coming generations. So that's why you need to be ethical in your behavior, particularly in research and publication. Fourth is, it's good for reputation. As I said in the beginning, I have a number of examples where the person has published paper, he has gone to some higher position, and ultimately the fraud, or you can say the plagiarism, detected, and he need to retract his paper. Retract in the sense he has to take back his paper. His reputation is at the stake, and ultimately truth comes out. That is what I just want to say. So don't get involved in such kind of thing, okay? And it is good for your reputation in future. Okay, we don't know about the future, but it will affect your future. Last, but not the least, is it is only the way. Okay, so a good reputation and acting with integrity, open the door for opportunity. There is no shortcut, right? So if you are ethical in your behavior, okay, definitely, though it will take time, but you're definitely going to go long on your way. Okay, your work represent not only you but the research institution, funding body, and so if I am doing fraud in the research, there are a number of people involved. I may tarnish the reputation of my boss, that is my principal, my college, my community. Okay, so if I get involved in such kind of unethical behavior, definitely it is going to affect all the stakeholders and the trust that the society have society, the people of the society have on the publishers and the researchers and the teachers. So we will, we will put at stake the whole community of the researchers. Okay, so you should not go for this. Now here I just would like to end, but still I just would like to just you to ponder over this particular just quick check. Just have a look at it. Questions based on based on what I have discussed. Okay, so it is regarding the word to word, word for word, copying. Okay, so yes, answer is definitely okay, you must not do this, right? Then you don't copy, but you paraphrase it. Paraphrase is putting your own words in the same content. Okay, so it is acceptable or not? It is not acceptable, but if you want it to be accepted, then you should acknowledge the original author who has the original ideas. Okay, so description of in your words, even you need to acknowledge. Then just have a look at it. Please have a look at it. As I said at the end of my presentation, you are putting everything in the danger. Okay, you need to retract your article. You need all of above are you need to just ponder over. If you have plagiarized something, then definitely it will result into some bad. Okay, and here, as I talked about authorship. If you remember, who is the author? Number of people are involved, and you need to find out who is the actual author. Then you need to follow this criteria. So you must very clearly distinguish between those who are authors and those who are contributors only. Definitely. I just would like to go ahead. Now see, you have completed a paper and you want to give it your best shot, the publication. What will you do? Definitely, I had told you, you must not go for the simultaneous publication, right? And only when you receive the reply from the first one, okay, either it is accepted or not accepted, then only you should move ahead with the other. So that is the correct answer. Okay, I shall also share this PPT to you also. Now see, this is about publishing translations. Okay, but you should take care. You should acknowledge the first author as well as mention everything in your paper. And see, last point that I discussed about conflict in some examples. See, nowadays this issue has become very crucial. Intentions have been changed with the passing of time. When you see monetary gain, when you see financial gains, the things are changed. So here I would like to end my presentation. Thank you very much for listening me. Thank you very much. Over to you, Darshan sir.
Question from the participants. If you want to ask to sir, you can